بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو على ما من به علينا من النعم الكثيرة الظاهرة والباطنة وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه أما بعد. By the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. All praise belongs to Allah, the one that there's none that has the right to be worshipped except Him. Was bestowed upon us blessings that are numerous, those blessings that are outward and inward, and I bear witness that none has the right to be worshipped other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is alone, without having any partners, and I bear witness that Muhammad ibn Abdullah, that he is his servant and his messenger. May the peace and salutations of Allah be upon him and his family and his companions, and upon all those who follow upon his guidance. To proceed, إخوان, فنواصل معكم في الاستفادة مع فضيلة الإمام العلامة الشيخ أبي عبد الله محمد بن صالح العثيمين شرحا على متن كتاب عقيدة الواسطية لابن تيمية رحمه الله تعالى. So we continue benefiting from, learning from the words of the noble Imam, the eminent Shaykh Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymeen. May Allah have mercy upon him, as he explains the book, the Aqeedah Wassitiyaah, authored by Imam Ibn Taymiyyah. وهذا الدرس رحمه الله. May Allah have mercy upon him. وهذا الدرس الثالث, and this is class number 3.
إن عبدت وتأله إليها من ضل فإنها ليست أهلا لأن تعبد.
So if those false deities, even though they are worshipped by those who have went astray, so they worship them, although they worship them, them being worshipped is in false or in falsehood.
وليست أهلا للألوهية.
Nor are they deserving of being worshipped.
فهي آلهة لأنها معبودة لكنها آلهة باطلة.
So they are gods and deities from the angle that someone or something is worshiping them. However, they themselves, they are false.
ذلك بأن الله هو الحق وأن ما يدعون من دونه هو الباطل.
As Allah Ta'ala, He says, translators note, this comes in Surah Luqman, where Allah Ta'ala says, and that is because Allah is the true God, the true deity, and all that they worship besides Him is false. And as it comes in another ayah, and all that they worship besides Him, al-batilu, is false. Translators note, one of the verses has the pronoun, it is false, and the other one comes without the pronoun, is false.
هذا هو الجواب عما أثبت الله سبحانه وتعالى ألوهيته في من سواه.
So this will be the answer, or this is the answer for the question that somebody may pose and say, well, how do we understand that Allah has affirmed other deities, other gods besides Himself?
أنها ألوهية لكنها باطلة.
We would explain that, or it is explained, that they are deities, they are gods, however, they are false gods.
ولهذا وصفها الله تعالى في آيات أخرى بأنه مجرد أسمى لأنها لا حقائق لها.
Because, and this is how, as Allah described them in earlier narrations or other narrations, that they are merely mujarradu tasmiyah, just merely names. Because in reality, there's no reality to their worship.
وإن عبدت فإنها لا تستحق أن تكون معبودة.
And even though, or if someone or something worships them, once again, then they are not deserving of such worship.
ومألوها. هذان النوعان من أقسام التوحيد أو من أنواع التوحيد لا يجحدهما ولا ينكرهما أحد من أهل القبلة المنتسبين إلى الإسلام.
So these two categories of tawheed, the tawheed al-rububiyyah, the tawheed of Allah's lordship, and the tawheed al-uluhiyyah, and the tawheed of Allah's worship, No one denies these two categories, and no one opposes these two categories. No one from the people of the Qibla, from the people who turn towards the Qibla, meaning the Kaaba, from those who are attributed to Al-Islam. No one from the Muslims who turn towards the Qibla in their prayers oppose these two categories of Tawheed.
لا سنيهم ولا بدعيهم.
Not a person who is upon the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah, nor a person who is upon other than the Sunnah of the Messenger عليه الصلاة والسلام.
ما حد ينكرهم.
No one denies that.
لأن الله تعالى موحد بالربوبية إيش بعد وبالألوهية.
No one denies that Allah Ta'ala is singled out in His rububiyyah, His lordship, and also in His uluhiyyah, His worship.
لكن نعم حصل فيما بعد أن من الناس من ادعى ألوهية أحد من البشر.
It says, yes, however, that which comes after that, there are some that they differ in this regard. There are some from mankind who claim mada uluhiyya, who claim to be worshipped from mankind.
كغلاة الرافضة مثلا.
Like those extreme Rafidah, for example.
الذين يقولون إن عليا إله.
Those who they have the nerve to say that Ali radiallahu anhu, that he is actually Allah. وَنَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ.
كما صنع زعيمهم عبد الله بن سبأ.
Just as it was claimed by one of them whose name is Abdullah ibn Saba.
حيث جاء إلى علي بن أبي طالب رضي الله عنه.
Whereas he came to Ali, may Allah be pleased with him.
وقال له أنت الله حقا.
And he said to Ali, أنت الله حقا, that you are truly Allah.
أعوذ بالله.
And we seek refuge with Allah Ta'ala from this.
لكن عبد الله بن سبأ أصله يهودي دخل في دين الإسلام بدعوى التشيع لآل البيت.
He says, however, this Abdullah ibn Saba, remember in his origin, his reality, that he is actually a Jewish individual from reality. So he says he entered into Islam and he had this tashayyu' to the people of the family of the Messenger alayhi salatu salam.
ليفسد على أهل الإسلام دينهم.
And he entered into Islam with the intent to corrupt the people of Islam, to corrupt their religion.
كما قال ذلك الشيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية رحمه الله وقال إن هذا كما صنع بولس حين دخل في دين النصارى ليفسد دين النصارى.
He says, and this was explained by the Imam Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, may Allah have mercy upon him. He says, and this was done similarly amongst the Jews by the person Bulsa, or Mada Bulas, in which he entered into the religion of the Jews, not to follow it, but in order to corrupt it.
هذا الرجل عبد الله بن سبأ قال لعلي بن أبي طالب رضي الله عنه أنت الله حقا.
So this man, Abdullah ibn Saba, he comes to Ali ibn Abi Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, and he says, you, O Ali, you are indeed Allah. You are truly Allah.
علي بن أبي طالب ما يرضى بهذا.
Ali ibn Abi Talib, he was not pleased with this.
لا يرضى علي بن أبي طالب أن أحدا ينزله فوق منزلته.
Ali ibn Abi Talib was never pleased for an individual to come and to raise his status higher than his true level.
حتى هو رضي الله عنه من إنصافه وعدله وعلمه وخبرته كان يقول على منبر الكوفة خير هذه الأمة بعد نبيها أبو بكر ثم عمر.
He says, Shagodemin, he says, so much so that Ali himself, from his honor and integrity, and from his adl, his Islamic morals and manners, and from his humbleness himself, he said, while giving the Jumu'ah upon the minbar in the place of Kufa, he would say in front of all the people, خَيْرُ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ, the best of this nation after its prophet is Abu Bakr, and then Umar.
يعلن في الخطبة.
He would say this and announce this while giving the Jumu'ah sermon.
وقد تواتر النقل عنه بذلك رضي الله عنه.
And there are many mutawatir reports that have reached the level of mutawatir, great numbers, narrate from him that he did this.
الذي يقول هكذا ويقر بالفضل لأهله من البشر كيف يرضى أن يقول له قائل إنك أنت الله.
So the one who will say the likes of this, who will acknowledge the likes of this, and he has his virtue from the people, how can someone of this caliber, this status, saying the likes of this statement, be pleased for someone to come and say to him, you are truly Allah?
ولهذا حذرهم أبشع تعزير. أمر بالأخاديد فخدت. وش الأخاديد؟ حفر في الأرض مثل السواقي نازلة عميقة ثم ملئت نارا حطبا ثم أضرمت.
He says, so for this reason, upon this, he punished him with a tremendous punishment. He says, he commanded for a ditch or a hole to be dug up, and it was filled with fire, it was filled with wood and the likes, and then this wood within this fire was set ablaze.
ثم أتى بهذا الرجل وأصحابه وقذفهم في النار.
And so then he came with this individual, Abdullah ibn Saba, and his companions, and he threw them into the fire.
أحرقهم بالنار.
He burned them with this fire.
لأن فريتهم عظيمة والعياذ بالله.
Because what they were saying and attributing to him was something that was horrific.
هينة. ويقال إن عبد الله بن سبأ هرب ولم يمسكوه. والله أعلم. المهم أن علي بن أبي طالب رضي الله عنه أحرق السبائية بالنار لأنهم ادعوا فيه الألوهية.
He says, and it is said that Abdullah ibn Saba, he fled and the people did not capture him. They captured his companions. Some say that. At any rate, Ali ibn Abi Talib, he burnt those people who follow the methodology of Abdullah ibn Saba. He burnt them with the fire. Because they claimed worship or ascribing worship to other than Allah.
فنقول كل من كان من أهل القبلة لا ينكر هذين النوعين من التوحيد وهما توحيد الربوبية وتوحيد الألوهية وإن كان يوجد في بعض أهل البدع من يؤلف أحد من البشر.
He says, so once again we say, there's no individual who faces the Qibla, who denies and opposes these two categories of Tawheed, and they are the Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, the Tawheed of Allah's Lordship, and the Tawheed of Allah's worship. He says, although they may be a small group of the people of innovation that they claim this from mankind.
لكن الذي كثر فيه النزاع والخوض والقسم الثالث.
He says, however, the thing that you're going to find a lot of argumentation and discord and difference of opinion with regards to from the people of the Qibla is
وهو توحيد الأسماء والصفات.
Is the category, the oneness of Allah's names and attributes.
توحيد الله تعالى بأسمائه وصفاته هذا هو الذي كثر فيه الخوض.
The Tawheed, the oneness of Allah's names and attributes, this is the category that you're going to find many or much different therein, and many argumentations therein.
فانقسم الناس فيه إلى قسمين.
So much so that in this category, we can divide mankind into three groups.
بل إلى ثلاثة.
طيب. Translator's correction. First he says into two groups. And then he says into three groups.
مكذب ومؤول ومحقق.
He says, and these groups are مكذب, محقق, and مؤول. mukadhib, those who deny, muhaqqiq, those who ascertain, wa mu'awwil, and those who explain them away. Those who they give them interpretations or explanations, and in reality they're denying the actual meaning, but they give them a different meaning. They are the mu'awwil.
مكذب ومؤول ومحقق.
He says, and he said it a second time. The first group, mukadhib, those who are denying, they deny the names of Allah and the attributes of Allah. He says, the second one are those who they ascertain the names of Allah and the attributes of Allah. And the third group, al-mu'awwil, those who actually change the meanings. They explain them away, in which they're not actually keeping the meanings of them. They're giving them a different meaning. They are the mu'awwil. They alter and they explain them away.
والصواب أن نقول بدل مؤول محرف.
He says, however, it's better if we were to say, instead of saying that they are the mu'awwil, those who explain them away, if we say they are the muharrif, they alter and change their meanings.
محرف ومحقق.
He says, so we're going to say, once again, the mukadhib, those who they deny them, muhaqqiq, those who ascertain them, and muharrif, those who alter and change the meanings of the names of Allah and the attributes of Allah.
انقسم الناس فيه إلى هذه الأقسام الثلاثة. وأول بدعة ظهرت في هذه الأمة هي بدعة الخوارج.
He says, so mankind in this regard, regarding Allah's names and attributes, are divided into three categories. He says, Hafidhahullah, rahimahullah ta'ala, may Allah have mercy upon him, Shaykh Uthaymeen, the first innovation to befall this ummah is actually the innovation of the Khawarij.
بدعة الخوارج هي أول بدعة ظهرت في الأمة.
The innovation of the Khawarij was the first innovation that became prevalent amongst this ummah, this nation.
لأن زعيمهم خرج على النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وهو ذو الخويصرة.
He says, because the innovation of the Khawarij, there was a man who, from amongst them, ذو خويصرة, and he rebelled upon the Messenger alayhi salatu wassalam.
من بني تميم.
And this Khuwaysara is from the tribe of Bani Tamim, the tribe of the children of Tamim.
حين قسم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ذهيبة جاءت فقسمها بين الناس فقال له هذا الرجل يا محمد اعدل.
In which the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam was distributing the spoils amongst the people. So this man, he comes, while the Messenger of Allah was distributing the spoils amongst the people. This man comes to the Prophet of Allah and he says, Ya Muhammadu i'dil, O Muhammad, be just.
اعدل. فكان هذا أول خروج خرج على الشريعة الإسلامية.
So this man comes, and we seek refuge with Allah Ta'ala from this. This man comes, and he says, O Muhammad, i'dil, be just, be fair in your distribution. So this was actually the first rebellion that took place in the legislation of Al-Islam.
ثم صارت بدعتهم في عهد الصحابة خرجوا على عثمان بن أبي طالب على عثمان رضي الله عنه بل خرجوا لو شئنا لقلنا خرجوا على أبي بكر.
He says, and then they revolted again in the time of Uthman. He says, however, if you really want to say, you could say, but rather they revolted against Abu Bakr and even upon Umar.
على عمر وعلى عثمان وعلى علي وما زالوا يتوالون.
He says, if you really want to be fair, you could say that they revolted against Abu Bakr and Umar and also Uthman and Ali.
ثم بعد ذلك ظهرت بدعة القدر، بدعة القدرية.
And then after the innovation of the Khawarij, there came prevalent the innovation of Al-Qadariyah.
مجوس هذه الأمة.
The Qadariyah, who are known as the Majus of this nation.
الذين قالوا إن الله سبحانه وتعالى ما قدر أفعال العباد.
Those who say that Allah Ta'ala did not decree the actions of the servants.
ما قدرها.
That Allah did not decree the action of the servants. Translators note, this is a false ideology. The Imam al-Uthaymeen here يشرح بدعة الخوارج وبدعة al-Qadariyah. Here Shaykh Uthaymeen is explaining the innovation of al-Khawarij and the innovation of the Qadariyah. Their beliefs are false.
وليست داخلة تحت مشيئته.
And they believe similarly, the Qadariyah, that the actions of the servant are not underneath of the Mashi'ah of Allah. They're not underneath of the will and the intent of Allah.
وليست مخلوقة له.
And they also believe that the actions of the servants, that they are not created by Allah.
بل كان زعماؤهم وغلاتهم يقولون إنها غير معلومة لله.
He says, and those extremists from amongst them, they went to another degree, another level, and they said, rather, the actions of the servants, Allah doesn't even know about them.
ولا مكتوبة في اللوح المحفوظ.
Nor are they written in the preserved scribes, the Lawh al-Mahfuz.
وأن الله لا يعلم بما يصنع الناس إلا إذا وقع ذلك.
And they say, the Qadariyah, they say that Allah does not know the actions of the servants until the servants do such actions. Then Allah has knowledge of their actions after they do them.
إذا وقع منه الشيء علم به.
If they do a particular action, now Allah knows it.
ويقولون الأمر أنف أي مستأنف.
And they say the affair is unuf, is an appeal affair.
وهؤلاء أدركوا آخر عصر الصحابة.
And these individuals from the Qadariyah, they met the last or the ending of the time period of the companions.
فقد أدركوا زمن عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله عنه.
For example, they were there at the time of Abdullah ibn Umar. At the time period that Abdullah ibn Umar, towards the end of his life, they were there at that time period.
وعبادة الصامت.
And also Ubadah ibn Samit, the great companion, also during his time.
وجماعة من الصحابة.
And a group from the companions.
لكنه في أواخر العصر.
However, towards the ending of that time period.
الصحابة. ثم ظهرت بعد ذلك بدعة الإرجاء.
Then after the innovation of the Qadariyah came the innovation of Al-Murji'ah. The innovation of Al-Murji'ah.
الإرجاء وأدركت زمن كثير من التابعين.
And the innovation of Al-Irja', this came prevalent in the time period of most of the tabi'un. Translators note, the tabi'un hum alladhina ja'u ba'da sahaba. The tabi'un, they are those that they came after the companions of the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, the next generation.
وش الإرجاء؟ الإرجاء الذين يقولون إنه لا تضر مع الإيمان معصية.
He says, rahimahullah, what is al-irja? What is al-irja? He says, the murji'ah, who are they? They are the ones who say that sin has no effect on belief. that no matter what sins a person commits, their iman la yatadarrar. Their iman is not harmed. As long as you believe in Allah, you can commit any sin that you wish, and this sin does not affect your belief. This is the understanding of the Murji'ah. Translators note, once again, these ideologies are false and incorrect and haram. The Imam is teaching us what do these deviant groups, what did they believe? But he's explaining what they believe. But realize and understand that these ideologies and these beliefs are false.
أنت مؤمن؟ نعم. محمد انتبه. أنت مؤمن؟ يقول نعم. يقول لا يضرك المعصية.
He says, once again, explaining the methodology of the Murji'ah. He says, for example, you are a believer, and then he calls on one of the students named Muhammad. He says, Muhammad, pay attention. Muhammad, pay attention. He says, they say, you're a believer? The person says, yes. They say, so as long as you believe in Allah, there's no sin that can harm your belief. You can do whatever sin you wish. Your iman is going to be intact. There's no effect on your iman, your belief. As long as the person believes in Allah, then the sin has no effect, no harm on his belief. The person can commit illegal sexual relations, no harm on his iman. The person can steal, no harm on his iman. He can drink intoxications, he can murder and kill. There's no harm on the belief. They believe, as long as the person is a believer and his belief is complete, he's a true believer, he can commit any sins that he wishes. So these individuals, they came on the scene in opposition of the Khawarij. They came on the scene in opposition of the Khawarij. He says, you see how innovation can lead to further innovation. So this group came on the scene in opposition to face the innovation of the Khawarij. So what do the Khawarij, what do they say? What do they believe? So the Khawarij, what do they say? If a person believes in Allah, but he commits a major sin, him committing this major sin removes him from belief. The Khawarij, they say, if a person believes in Allah and then commits illegal sexual relations, he becomes a kafir, becomes a disbeliever, one who his honor is no longer sacred and his blood is no longer sacred. If a believer steals, he becomes a disbeliever. Then his money is no longer sacred. Likewise, his blood becomes or is no longer sacred. So the Shaykh says, whose belief is this? And you hear the students say, the Khawarij. So these individuals, the Murji'ah, they wanted to face and correct the Khawarij. But they corrected them, correcting their innovation with another innovation.
إذا كان مؤمنا بالله ورسوله واليوم الآخر وأصول الإيمان الستة فليعمل ما شاء.
So once again, the Murji'ah, they say as long as a person believes in Allah and the last day, he believes in the components of Iman, the pillars of Iman, then this person can do whatever he wants to do from sin.
كل المعاصي وإن كبرت ما عدا الكفر والشرك فإنها لا تنقص الإيمان فضلا عن تغير.
So they believe as long as the person believes in Allah and he doesn't fall into shirk and he doesn't fall into kufr, disbelief, he can do all the sins that he wish and it has no trace, no barons, no effect on his belief.
لا تنقص.
His iman does not reduce, is not affected. His iman does not reduce.
فالإنسان مؤمن كامل الإيمان.
They believe as long as the person, he has the complete belief.
هل هم أذكياء أو لا؟
He says they were intelligent, but only Allah knows. Only Allah knows were they azkiya am not or am la. Did they have purification? Did they have pure intentions or no? Only Allah knows.
قالوا نجمع بين القولين.
So this other group, they come along and they say, let's join together between both of the positions. Translators note, pay attention here. He's mentioning the belief of the Murji'ah and he mentioned the belief of the Khawarij. What did the Khawarij believe? They believe if a believer falls into a major sin that is not shirk and kufr, this person is no longer a Muslim. هذا الخوارج. This is the methodology of the Khawarij. Then he mentions the Murji'ah. What do the Murji'ah believe? The Murji'ah are the opposite. If a person is a believer, he can commit whatever sin he wants to commit and it does not affect his belief. طيب واضح. This is clear. طيب أنتم معي. You guys with us. This third group comes on the scene. They say, let's join together between the two statements. Meaning the statements of the Khawarij, what they believe, and the statements of the Murji'ah, what they believe. Let's put them together. طيب.
ونقول اللي يفعل الكبيرة ليس بمؤمن كما قال المرجئة وليس بكافر كما قال الخوارج.
So this third group, they say, let's join together both positions, the Khawarij, the Murji'ah. If a believer commits a major sin, we're not saying it doesn't affect his iman like the Murji'ah, and we're not saying that it takes him outside of Islam like the Khawarij, but rather we say, the example, he's talking about this third group. They say, rather we say,
بل هو في منزلة بين منزلتين.
That they are in a level between both levels. They are in a level, may Allah make it easy, ikhwan. They are in a level between both levels.
كرجل سافر من عنيزة إلى الرياض.
Like a man who travels from Unayza to Riyadh.
نعم فصار في أثناء الطريق.
So he becomes in the middle of the trip. He left from Unayza, he's going to Riyadh. He gets into the middle of both destinations.
وش نقول له؟
What do we say about him? Where is he? He left Unayza, he's traveling to Riyadh. He's in the middle. Where is he?
لا في الرياض ولا في عنيزة.
We say he's not in Riyadh and he's not in Unayza.
بل في منزلة بين منزلتين.
But rather he's in a place between both destinations.
هم قالوا هكذا.
These individuals, they say like that.
قالوا لا نقول فاعل الكبيرة كافر ولا مؤمن كامل الإيمان.
They say we're not saying the believer who does a major sin that he's a disbeliever, nor are we saying that he's still a believer.
في منزلة بين منزلتين.
We say he's in a place, a status between both places, both positions.
طيب وماذا تصنعون به في الآخرة؟
The Shaykh, he said, however, in the hereafter, what do they say about them?
كان نقول مخلد في النار.
They say he's going to remain in the hellfire forever.
يوافقون الخوارج ولا لا؟
So he says, in reality, are they agreeing with the Khawarij or no? Or not? And you hear the students say, yes, ya Shaykh. They're saying the same thing as the Khawarij.
يوافقونه في الآخرة.
They agree with the Khawarij in the hereafter, this third group.
لكن في الدنيا يخالفونهم.
But regarding this worldly life, they differ with the Khawarij.
ظهرت هذه البدعة وانتشرت.
So, and perhaps we'll stop here, Ikhwan. He says, so this innovation, ظهرت وانتشرت, this innovation became prevalent. وانتشرت, and it became widespread upon the people. طيب, نكتفي بهذا. We'll suffice ourselves with that portion of the class. وللجدد, for those who are new, هذا الشرح للعلامة محمد بن صالح العثيمين على عقيدة الواسطية للإمام ابن تيمية رحمه الله تعالى. For those who are new, then this is the explanation by Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymin, as he's explaining the book by Ibn Taymiyyah, Aqeedah Wassitiyaah. Translator's note, there is a translation over this. It's a 2-volume book in English for those who want to get the book and benefit with us from the class. Get the explanation of Sheikh al-Uthaymin. And may Allah bless you all. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.